What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender, and welcome to 3-Point Play. If you're still new to the game here, well, it's very simple. I challenge one of the Fantasy Alarm analysts today, Matt Sells. What's going on, Matt? How are you?
I am good. It's been a long vacation week, but it was long. It was a fun time at the race until all of my NASCAR lineups did not do very well.
Well, that's what happens when you party at the track at Daytona and you're not thinking clearly. That's right. We know you're going to make it up to everybody at Kentucky this week, so no doubt about that. For those who don't know, yes, Matt Sells, credentialed and all, was at Daytona this past week. You wouldn't know it, though, because he didn't take any pictures of him and Dan Malin at the track, so we just kind of have to really take his word for it. I did see one picture from Dan Malin that it sort of looked like Matt Sells is back, but who's to say? Matt, can you turn around for me?
Malin standing on the track.
Whatever. Nevertheless, guys, what we do here at 3-Point Play is we go back and forth. We debate three topics. In order for your topic, in order you to make your argument, you need three distinct points. In honor of the Fantasy Alarm NFL Draft Guide being out and we inching closer and closer towards the fantasy football draft season and the regular season, well, we're going to go rocking on with a ton of fantasy football talk here. Matt, I know your head's been in NASCAR, but you got a couple of really killer articles in the draft guide. One about adjustments that you make for scoring changes. Another one about red zone work. So I know your head's on the right track here. So I think you're ready for me. Are you?
I am definitely ready, yes.
You're so not ready for me right now. You're so not ready. Well, then here we go. Let's just start it off here. Topic number one. I'm hearing that Josh Jacobs is holding out because he's unhappy with the way his payout structure is for his signing bonus. Wow, that's not good. It's causing a rift between, or could be causing a rift between him and the players, him and the team, him and the coaches, because it all sounds super greedy here. But listen, some people still say this dude is going to be the bell cow back. Let me ask you this one here, Matthew. Despite the potential holdout, is Josh Jacobs still a safe pick this season? What side of the fence are you on?
I am going with yes. He is still a safe pick for this season. I know there's that contract dispute. It basically comes down to every player that was taken before him in the draft had their money fully guaranteed. The guys taken after didn't. In fact, the guy that was taken one spot after him, his $11.7 million contract, all but $600,000 of it is guaranteed. The guy taken before him, his $12.2 million contract was all guaranteed, so that's what they're squabbling about. However, Mike Mayock, the GM, and John Gruden, the head coach, have done nothing but heap praise on this kid since and before they drafted him. They've said he's going to be the featured back. They've said he can handle it. They love his leadership ability. They love how explosive he can be. That's backed up by the fact that last year, and yes, this was college, I know, but he played at Alabama in the SEC and a lot of big-time opponents. 41% of his carries last year went for either first downs or touchdowns, and he forced 33 missed tackles and had 493 yards after contact. Those are all really translatable stats to the NFL. Second point, running backs translate easier than any other position from college to NFL, except for maybe punters. Can't throw kickers in there because look at what happened to the Bucs kicker, Roberto Aguayo. Running backs transition better than any other position, so I'm not concerned about a holdout causing a problem. Point number three, he has experience learning complicated playbooks under Nick Saban and his ever-revolving coaching staff at Alabama, because every year they gut their assistant coaches because they go take other head coaching jobs, so he would have to learn a new playbook. Guy has experience learning complicated playbooks, blocking schemes, all sorts of stuff very quickly. There's also nobody in front of him that's going to take the featured back spot. So the contract dispute will get sorted out. He'll be fine. I have no concerns.
Interesting. Matt, let me ask you, when you were down there in Daytona, were there any crashes during the race?
Yeah.
Were they relatively close to you? Could your head have been jogged a little bit and maybe your brain kind of rattled around a little and confused you?
No.
Not that you think, because here, let me tell you something, dude. Josh Jacobs holding out, nightmare for fantasy owners. Nightmare. Number one, to me, a holdout like this is no different than getting injured early on in training camp. We saw that with Rashad Penny. We saw that with Ronald Jones. Both those guys didn't log practice time or enough time in training camp. And what happened to them? They sucked when the season started. They were both healthy and ready to go, and neither one of them were able to do it. And they ended up taking back seats to Chris Carson and Peyton Barber. Peyton Barber, a guy who everybody craps on. Ronald Jones had to take that second fiddle there with him. Why? Because he wasn't at training camp. I mean, he was there, but he couldn't participate. Now that I'm hearing that they're talking about Jacobs possibly not reporting like Bosa did, like Anthony Bosa did last year, which was like 30 days into training camp. 30 days into training camp. If you're telling me that Josh Jacobs is going to miss 30 days of training camp, to me, his holdout is no different than a preseason injury. He's missing crazy time. Point number two, dude's price tag way too high right now. I did a 12-team draft where he got drafted at the tail end of the second round. So, yes, he's supposedly the bell cow over there, but the price tag for a guy who's missing training camp because of a holdout, I'm sorry, man, that doesn't jibe well with me. And then point number three, this obvious, and I said this before, this creates a rift between him and the players. You think DeAndre Washington or Jalen Richard could be like, yeah, we'll totally take a back seat to this jackass who's like sitting here crying about, oh, I'm not getting my millions paid out fast enough for me. Are you kidding me here? It's going to cause a rift with the teammates. It's going to cause a rift in the clubhouse. And it's going to cause a rift with the coaching staff. You can't tell me that Gruden is going to be too psyched about his star running back, his prized possession, the guy that they took as high as they took him in the draft with the intention of using him, is now holding out. To me, that spells trouble for me on all fronts here. So while, yeah, you say that running backs translate better, not if you're missing training camp, dude.
Well, a couple of things. One, Rashad Penny and Ronald Jones are not the caliber of running back that Josh Jacobs is. They also came into situations in which there were people that they were going to have to unseat for the starter role. Yes, Peyton Barber, not that great. He had a pretty solid year last year, not that great. Chris Carson, on the other hand, very good running back. Rashad Penny was going to have to unseat him, so holding out clearly doesn't get you anywhere. And then Chris Carson went out, and when he was healthy, was a dominant back. Josh Jacobs has Jalen Richard to deal with. I mean, that guy's a pass-catching back. That's all he does. He doesn't run between the tackles. He's not a 219-pound, like 6'2" running back like Josh Jacobs is. So, he's gotten the playbook. He's already learned it. I don't think that's the problem. They know what he can do because they've scouted him for at least the last year. Then they held private meetings with him at the combine. And if Gruden is so hell-bent on having him be the feature back, he should go talk to his new GM and tell him, just give him the guaranteed money he wants. Because it's like $1 million. $1 million in the NFL is like a dime. So just give it to him, get the guy on the field, settle it. It's all fine.
Yeah, listen, if they turn around and they settle it and everything's fine, then I'm totally cool with it. But the longer this holdout goes, to me, the less value Josh Jacobs has in fantasy. I don't want to take that risk. Everybody was just assuming that Lev Bell was going to come back last year for his holdout, and they look what happened. You took him in the first round, and if you didn't handcuff him to James Conner, you got screwed. I'm not saying that this is going to, completely decimate the Raiders here like Lev Bell's holdout did, but to me, if you're going to invest that high of a pick in a rookie, no less, I'm sorry, man, but I need this guy into training camp. If the longer he holds out, the worse he is for me, and the less likely I am to draft him.
I do agree that the end of the second round's a touch high for Josh Jacobs to begin with, whether he's holding out or not. That's still a touch high. But I still think he's fine to draft.
All right. Well, let's see what you guys out there say. Tweet us at Fantasy Alarm, at The Salesman, at Roto Buzz Guy. Really curious to know everybody's thoughts on this one here. Josh Jacobs, are you blindly drafting him third round, whatever? Mid third round is probably where he's going most often. Would you still draft him there if this guy continues to hold out? So hit us up. In the meantime, topic number 2, let's stick with rookies here for the NFL. And listen, everybody's talking about Josh Jacobs. Everybody's talking about N'Keal Harry. Everybody's talking about DK Metcalf. Everybody's talking about David Montgomery. What I want to know here is who is the rookie that nobody's talking about and could end up having an impact? I'll start it off here this time because I'm wondering why nobody is talking about A.J. Brown. Now, listen, I'm not the hugest A.J. Brown fan by any stretch of the imagination, nor do I particularly care for Marcus Mariota as the starting quarterback. But listen, why people ignoring him? Number one, he's being ignored because everybody's all over Corey Davis again. Are we really looking at that? Like Corey Davis going to be on one side of the field? Maybe you got A.J. Brown on the other side of the field there. There really are no other major receiving targets in this Tennessee team. I mean, Delaney Walker, he'll end up hurt at some point or another. Adam Humphries, he's a slot guy. He's a short yardage slot guy who's got a little bit of speed. But, I think that A.J. Brown's got the talent over Taywan Taylor, over Tajay Sharp. And if everybody wants to focus on Corey Davis, I'm going to look towards A.J. Brown over here. Point number 2, the guy's going to see plenty of practice time with Ryan Tannehill, all right, who is likely to replace Marcus Mariota at some point this season. Whether Mariota gets hurt, whether Mariota gets benched, I think Tannehill and A.J. Brown are going to spend a lot of time with each other at workouts. And I think that, listen, the Titans had to come right out and say, Ryan Tannehill's strictly a backup. He's not the starter. He's not challenging Marcus Mariota for the job, which means that everybody knows, including Tennessee, that there really isn't a whole lot of difference between Tannehill and Mariota. So I think Tannehill and A.J. Brown can forge themselves a nice relationship while Mariota's flinging the ball over to Corey Davis and Delaney Walker. And point number 3, you can take him in the last round or for like $1 in auctions. He's not even being drafted in most 12-team leagues right now. Free player. Boom. A.J. Brown has the potential to actually do something as the wide receiver 1A in Tennessee.
I do like that pick. I'm going to go with a guy that I've mentioned before. Out of Arizona, Hakeem Butler.
Ooh.
Nobody is talking about this guy. I don't understand why. Yes, rookie wide receivers tend to struggle a little bit, but hey, DJ Metcalf and a few other guys are getting all sorts of hub and whatnot, and this guy's not, and I can't figure it out. Point number 1. He's the only big target they have in Arizona in a massively pass-heavy offensive scheme. Okay? The Cliff Kingsbury, if you haven't seen his offense before, go look back at Texas Tech. They literally put up 700 passing yards a game 6 or 7 times in a season a couple of times. That's an insane amount of passing yards. Point number 2. The other wide receiver they drafted ahead of him, Andy Isabella, is a slot guy, and they already had a slot guy. So there's literally no competition on the outside except for an aging Larry Fitzgerald who, yes, he's still quality, but he's not, those legs are getting up there. Point number 3. His final year at Iowa State, Hakeem Butler averaged 22 yards per catch and 9 touchdowns. That's the role we can see him in Arizona, because guess what? His quarterback is Kyler Murray. What's the best thing Kyler Murray did at Oklahoma? Throw the deep ball. That's exactly what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do. That's how he's going to beat NFL secondaries. I like Hakeem Butler. He's going off the board as I think like the 80th wide receiver. So again, another free play that doesn't cost you anything but a last round flyer or a buck in an auction draft. Why not take a shot?
Listen, I'll just automatically declare this one a tie because I do love Hakeem Butler, and I know that everybody's all jazzed up about Andy Isabella down over there, and I think it's crazy sometimes. The air raid offense that they're going to throw there in Arizona. I mean, it's going to be crazy. It's why I'm down on David Johnson because you're talking about an offense. You said it right there, like 65% passing.
I mean, look at what they did for Michael Crabtree at Texas Tech. That was his offense.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Crabtree won the Bolitnikov Award 2 years in a row, I believe, and he put up insane catch totals and then was so-so in the NFL because he got bolstered by the passing system of Cliff Kingsbury.
You're not going to get an argument against it from me. I like both A.J. Brown and Hakeem Butler, and that's fine. Let everybody keep passing them up for Andy Isabella and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Go ahead, pass them up for those guys. I'll take the free play at the end of the round and be very happy moving forward. Let's go to topic number 3 then, and let's talk about the Bills. Oh, shout out to you guys in Bills Mafia, man. The only franchise who takes as many kicks to the groin as us Jets fans do. And Matt and I are both Jets fans, so we know what's going down in the street. So let's talk about our lovely friends from the north, the Buffalo Bills. Talk to me about this backfield. If you had to draft a running back out of the Bills backfield, which one would it be, Matt?
I'm going to go with Shady, LaShawn McCoy. Point number 1. Before last year, which we can all agree was his worst year as a pro, before last year, he had 4 seasons of 1,100 yards or more rushing in the last 5 years, and the one that wasn't, he still put up 895 yards, which is a pretty solid rushing total. Point number 2. Even with the poor yardage total last year, he still got in the end zone 3 times, and he has 30 combined touchdowns in Buffalo in his 4 seasons as a Bill. So he's averaging almost 8 touchdowns a year combined, which is pretty high, especially in this day and age. Point number 3. His legs should be relatively fresh. He only carried the ball 11.7 times on average last year per game. So that's not that's a big drop off from the past year where I think it was almost 20 times per game. He's going into his age 31 season. He's still expecting to be the top back in that backfield. He catches a ton of passes, which will keep him on the field more than the other backs. Even last year, which was a down year for him, he still caught 35 balls. And the year before, he caught like 52. So those are pretty nice totals. And we're going to throw in a bonus point. The Bills really invested in their offensive line this offseason. They signed 3 new offensive linemen, including Mitchell Morse as a center, which I know is not a sexy signing, but he's the guy that anchored the Chiefs' offensive line last year, which finished top 5 in rushing and passing. And the Bills ranked 26th in offensive line in 2018. So a better offensive line means better yardage totals for LaShawn McCoy.
Well, listen, if you want to side with the guy who ruined Avengers Endgame for everybody out there on Twitter, that's fine by me. Your point on the offensive line is very well taken, and I'll tell you what, though. Frank Gore. That's the guy you want. You want to grab Frank Gore. Listen, Shady McCoy, he's gonna go out there, like the 3rd round, 4th round of most fantasy drafts. Guy hasn't played a full season once in the last 4 years. Once in the last 4 years. Double-digit touchdowns once in the last 7 years. Only had 160 attempts. Like I'm looking at it right here on the screen. It says it right here. 161 attempts, only 514 yards. The durability is not there. And that's going to be an issue for me. Frank Gore has more than proven that he has got to be the most durable guy, not just in the NFL, but I'm thinking of all time. Like, if they were going to make another sequel to the movie Unbreakable, it would be Frank Gore. Like, the guy got his knee mashed up years and years and years ago, and he's playing right now, all spry and happy-go-lucky. Give me some Frank Gore for the durability. Number 2, his experience is going to trump the talent of Devin Singletary, so that when McCoy does go down with his injury or, just kind of gets passed over because he sucks now, Singletary will get that shot. But Gore's experience, is going to turn into the Bills using him as a short yardage back, which means for me, short yardage situations, goal line touches. Frank Gore might not kill it this year with yardage, but he's going to get himself into the end zone a couple of times there, more than just a couple of times. And I bet you he outscores in the touchdown column Shady McCoy this year. And point number 3, just like I said it with A.J. Brown, Frank Gore, he's free. He's free. Take it with your last pick. When you're sitting there and you're doing your draft, guys, if you're going to a 16-round draft, round 14, take your defense. Round 15, take your kicker. Round 16, be like, oh, thank you, Frank Gore. Yeah, because he's available here. So durability, short yardage, goal line situations are coming his way, and he's free. Free of charge. Oh,
he had 722 yards last year as the main back in Miami and only got in the end zone once.
Miami sucks, dude.
Right.
You know that. Adam Gase is a clown coach.
We still got 3 touchdowns.
Dude, clown coach. Adam Gase. Listen, we're not debating Lev Bell here because we're both like, Adam Gase is a horrible coach. It doesn't even matter. Like, you still had a better back. You had a better back in Kenyon Drake in Miami. So you have to kind of utilize Kenyon Drake more than you're going to utilize Frank Gore. In this case, in Buffalo, in disgusting Buffalo, I think you're going to have to.
If Kenyon Drake is a smaller framed, speedier running back, why didn't Frank Gore get the goal line touches and score a bunch of touchdowns in Miami last year?
Because Adam Gase is a moron.
Saying Frank Gore hasn't gone over 6 touchdowns in like 8 years.
Moron. Really? 8 years? Has it been 8 years? Let's see. Let's have a look-see. I just want to take a gander here.
Over 6.
Oh, over 6? Not 8 years, dude. He had in 2013, dude. 9 touchdowns right there.
All right.
6 4 years ago.
So 7 years for over 6.
Look at that game log, dude. Look at that game log. Nothing but 16s over there. Come on, baby. Give me some Frank Gore. Shady's going to cost you so much more, and he's going to provide, at best, equal yardage and touches. At best.
I don't know. I think he has a rebound season. I think he's got over 800 yards in him this year.
Would you draft Devin Singletary later on?
No.
Not interested at all?
No, I'd rather have Frank Gore over Devin Singletary, but I'd rather take Shady McCoy over Frank Gore.
Very interesting. What are you guys out there?
Dynasty or keeper, I'll go Devin Singletary.
Sure, dynasty or keeper, I'll always take the younger guy. I mean, Frank Gore's 173 years old, and Shady McCoy's only 144 right now. Do you know why I said 144 for Shady McCoy? Because he's gross. It's a bit of a thinker there, I know. Bit of a thinker.
12 dozen.
That's going to do it for us here at 3 Point Play. You guys, I want to hear your responses. What Bills running back would you take? Who's the rookie player that nobody's talking about? And then, of course, the big question, Josh Jacobs. The longer he holds out, how likely are you to draft him? At The Salesman, at RotoBuzzGuy, at Fantasy Alarm. Hit us up. That's going to do it for 3 Point Play. Big thanks to my man, Matt Sells. As always, great work. Looking forward to more of these with you. And a big thanks to our producer, John Impemba, who I think is warming up in the wings right now, getting ready to do battle with me on one of these. That's Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.